turn it over to Coach Jones and let him take it away.
Okay. All right. Great, Alex. Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here again. And hello, Hatters. It's great to be with you. Tonight's one of my favorite topics. It's a big part of not only what we do in sports, but obviously in business and in life is the relationship culture. How do we make relationships? How do we sustain relationships? And how do we communicate? And how do we connect? And that's a big thing that we really strive for each and every day, especially in sports, is to connect with all kinds of different types, from our young athletes to coaches to alumni, as we are here tonight. We're always looking to figure out ways to connect and to communicate and to build relationships. And I think what I'm going to talk to you tonight, all these things can go to sports. Many clinics I've done have talked a lot about relationships. I think that's one of the most important things is how do you build trust and build your culture, and it all starts with the ability to be able to communicate. So I'm going to kind of pop through here. I got so much. The hardest thing is to be able to just lock it all down in 45 minutes, but I want to give you a lot of content for things for you to take from it, and hopefully you can get one or two things here that can help grow your culture. Some of the things I will be talking about here tonight have come from some people that's been very influential in my growth as a coach and also as a leader. One of them is George Raveling. Some of these things you're going to see me speak about are things I've learned from him and he shared with me, who's a great coach back in the day and a great mentor of mine. And he's impacted a lot of people and was the head of grassroots basketball for Nike. And now is an avid leader and mentor to many coaches and many people. And John Maxwell, there'll be a lot of stuff from John Maxwell I'll share as well. I was with the John Maxwell team there and did a lot of speaking and different things representing that company. And so a lot of these things will be in reference to him as well. Okay, so as we start off, I think the most important thing, obviously, in communicating and in relationships is the people. It starts with the people. You got to be able to value people. And I said that last time in the last talk that I gave. And one of the most important things that when we talked about leadership was value people. And I think the key to creating buy-in and being able to communicate and connect is it's just not the knowledge. It's also much they want to know how much you care. And I think that's so important. And how we begin to build these relationships. And you'll see this point being made several times throughout the talk today. Next thing we talk about is you as a leader, character attributes of a self-leader. And when I put this together, I put this in mind of the qualities that's important for you to be able to showcase to the people that's going to follow you. As you're building relationships and as you're building the ability to connect, these are a lot of the qualities that the character attributes of a self-leader: trustworthy, dependable, self-awareness, your character, your competence, your vision. How do you listen? Your communication, your integrity, your feedback, and all these play off each other. And I think this is a great slide that shares really the attributes of a self-leader and your awareness as we start the process of being able to connect and relate to people. And the next thing that I always look at and always think is, and when you're starting your quest into trying to get a feel on your ability to connect people, and John Maxwell used to say this, and it's a powerful statement: many people try to communicate, but very few connect. And I think that has some incredible power. In my world, in sports, and we talk about the ability to be able to go out and relate. We're sharing things like tonight. I'm communicating a lot of things with you tonight, but I'm hoping for the connection. The connection is where it sinks home, where you really understand the clarity of what I'm being able to share with you. So these three questions are things that I think are very important that people are asking about you when you're meeting them. Number one, do you care for me? These are the questions that people think. Mutual concern creates connection between people. There's got to be a sincerity. There's got to be a a bond that they're feeling, that based on what you're sharing and what you're talking about, they feel that you truly care for them. And people have a strong desire to connect with others. We were made to not be by ourselves. We were made to be two or more. And I think it's important how you connect and asking the question, do you care for me? Number two, can you help me? This is a question that people are thinking. Can you help me? Nobody wants to be just sold on a quick sales pitch overnight. Everybody wants to be helped. Focus on the benefits, not the features. People want to know, can you help me when you're trying to connect? And I think the third thing is, can I trust you? And this is a really important one. And trust is built. Can you connect with others if you get past your own agenda? So it's important not only what your purpose is, but does it fit their purpose and your ability to connect? So number one, do you care for me? Number two, can you help me? And number three, can I trust you? These are three questions people are asking to you when they meet you in their mind. So with this, you got to be able to put yourself in their perspective and how you approach them. Can you answer these questions when you're trying to put yourself in a situation to connect? Connecting is everything when it comes to communication. As I said, a lot of people communicate, but very few connect. How do you know you have connected? So a lot of times in recruiting, when we walk in, I meet a lot of people all over the world, walk into a lot of homes, and I think it's important. It's people understand when you walk in there, the vision you're trying to share with them, but you're wondering sometimes they're not giving much information back to you. So I thought these were about 9 things that I wanted to share with you that people feel like they have connected with you, that you can tell that people are responding and starting to buy in to what you're talking about. Number one, they make the extra effort. They go the extra mile for you. Players, same thing. The believe in is the first thing. Buy in follows. They go the extra effort for you. People do whatever they got to because they have bought in to how you've connected with them. Number two, unsolicited appreciation. They just say positive things, how they feel about you, how they enjoy what you're doing, how they, maybe their body language towards you. The third thing, unguarded openness. They demonstrate trust, not necessarily just how they say things, but how they show up every day. Number four, increased communication. They express themselves more readily. We did a lot of Zoom calls with our players. And last night we had a powerful session that went almost 2 hours. And we were sharing a lot of the issues and talking about what's going on in our world here right now with all the things that's happening with racism. And it was great to hear the unguarded openness and the communication from our players of how they were feeling and what they were going through and what the emotions of everything was about today. Number four, increased communication. They express themselves more readily. They feel secure. They feel safe to express their opinion around you. Number five, enjoyable experiences. They feel good about what they're doing. Okay. I always used to say, a great friend of mine told me, make it fun to come to work every day. That doesn't mean not make it demanding and holding people accountable, but it means, do you make it fun to come to work every day and compete where it doesn't feel like a job? Emotional bondness. They display a connection on an emotional level. Number seven, positive energy. Their emotional batteries are charged by being together. You can just feel their energy when they're with you. Number eight, growing synergy. Their effectiveness is greater than the sum of their contributions. And number nine, unconditional love. They're accepting without reservations. That means they follow whatever you're doing and they're buying in. So these are 9 ways that you know that people have connected with you through your communication. So we talk about the power of communication, how powerful it is. And there's a lot of ways to communicate. And a lot of times people don't always know what you're saying, and we hope we understand what they say. We usually talk about 125 to 175 words per minute, and we listen at 300 to 500 words per minute. Our mind works faster than your lips. Just because you say something doesn't mean people understand what you said. So that's an important quality, as we see a picture of a young child here. There's three types of communication. Number one, visual, what you see. Number two, hearing, obviously what you hear. And number three, experiencing. So we use all three of these types of communication when we're coaching. Very vital in teaching and coaching and parenting. As a dad, we teach all three ways because sometimes people learn in different ways. So it's important how we communicate. And a message is conveyed. We talk about this with our players as well as our coaches. It's 7% through your words. So the things we're talking about here right now. So 7% of it comes through your words, 38% by the tone of your voice, and 55% by body language, your appearances, your attitudes, your actions, your expressions, so many things. And in today's world, a lot of the young people love to be on their cell phones. So you can be talking to them and they're still playing a video game or something. So we try to teach them the importance of being able to lock in and listen with we always say your eyes and your ears. We want you to see us and hear us. And I think those are important qualities when we're trying to teach you the power of communication and how the impact of that has, not only with your words, but your tone. You know, your tone has a lot to do with it. And I said this last time in our last conversation, and it's a coaching term, is whisper criticism and shout praise. There's a lot to be said about that. And I think that's also a tone and also important with how we communicate. How do you communicate? Man, we're talking about the difference between like a public speaker, somebody like me who's speaking right now, or a communicator. I want to be a communicator. Some people are just speakers. That means they just read information off and they have no connection with the things they're saying. They're really just reading almost like a story to you. So how do you do that? By changing your tones, being able to connect. Obviously, being able to do this talk in person would have much more impact because I could see the eyes and the body language of the people I'm speaking to. That's usually what I'm doing when I'm giving these talks. I can relate to the audience. I can ask questions. I can be more focused differently because I'm getting body feedback, other though it may not be word feedback. So the difference, public speakers put the message before the people. They're just worried about giving their content. They're not really worried about how can I add value to you, but they're really just sharing their knowledge. The second thing is ask, what do I have? They emphasize techniques. They focus on the content of their words. They become goal and they just want to complete the message. If you're a communicator, you put the people before the message. You really try to connect on certain things you feel add value to the audience or the people. You're asking to yourself, what do they need? What is an important thing for me to focus on and to really read the body language when you're communicating? They emphasize atmosphere. They focus in the change in the listeners. They make it more personal, and their goal is to complete the needs of the people that they're talking to. So there's different ways to communicate. Obviously, there's technology weapons in today's world, like we're using right now, Zoom, an incredible technology weapon. With everything we went through with the COVID-19, we've had to learn new ways to communicate. And I think this is important. You can text message, there's emails, handwritten messages, FaceTime. We could add Zoom to this. There's MindSpace, surprises, and different random acts of kindness. And communication is a two-way process. So it's important for us to understand, not only like right now, I have to do all the talking because I'm not able to listen until the end when you ask me questions, but it's important when you're communicating, especially with a group or one-on-one, that you're trying to get feedback and listen. And how do you listen? With the body language things we just talked about. It's very vital of what you're doing, especially as a leader, of how you're able to listen to the people as they talk. So then the next thing we talk about as we continue to focus on the topic of being able to communicate, to connect, is that we got to understand that communication starts with the process of building trust. Okay. And I said this last time, how do you build trust? One, you do it with time. All right. And the second thing is consistency. And the third thing is obviously proof about what you've been talking about or what you've been trying to communicate. And so with this, over time, trust is built. And I think that's important that we are able to do that as you learn to connect. Without connection, you have a team that lacks commitment and underperforms. In coaching, in business, it's important. If you don't have teams that connect, they will underachieve because trust won't be established. Teams beat talent when talent isn't a team. So it's important for you to be able to grow your team together. With less talent can be more effective with a team that's not as talented if they're able to connect. To become connected, we must know about our teammates. That comes back to the relationship part. It's important that we understand our teammates, the relationships on the team, and how we can become one with our ability to connect and share. Positive, high-performing teams are built and developed through great communication, shared experience, positive interactions, common challenges, and vulnerable storytelling that connect the people at a different level. So these are different ways that we share our vision and our words in connection, especially with teams. It's so important to us is that we share a lot of experiences, but we just not only do the coaches do the talking, we let our players do a majority of the talking to learn from them and give them what we call the shared experience together. We are doing that. So the next thing we're going to talk about here, which is one of the most powerful things I'll share with you tonight, or maybe completing these next three workshops that we're having together. And this is called the 5 H's. It helps us connect our stories. And we all have a story, and it's vital that our team knows us and we know about them. So as we talk about that, this is a great image for me, and it makes so many memories come to me. As you see in the middle, you see a basketball athlete hugging a lady, and that's his mom. This is a young man named Joakim Noah, who I had the pleasure to coach at the University of Florida. We won back-to-back national championships. And this picture says a lot of words without any words being around it. And what the words are right there is, once we won the national championship in 2006 in Indianapolis, there was about 65,000 people at the game. And when the horn blew, the first thing he did was turn around and run up in the stands looking for his mother. He wasn't hugging teammates. He wanted to go celebrate that moment with his mom. So he climbed all the way up in the middle of the stands where his mom was, and he wanted to pick her up and he wanted to celebrate that moment. So this picture brings back 1,000 memories because I know the love he had for mom and his family, and he had reached a milestone, and he wanted to give her all the glory in this moment and celebrate it with her. So a very powerful picture, and a lot of it is because we learned through this process we're going to talk about next. And it's called the 5 H's of team building. And this is one of the most important things you can do. I do this every year with my teams, even with the guys who's returning, and especially with a lot of new guys coming in. And I could talk about this for a long period of time. And this session with this, we do one every time we get together with our group. And we have a team gathering in basketball at least once a week. We call it Hats Off. And that is our Hatter leadership program for our men's basketball team. And with that, this is strictly about team building, and we're not talking basketball, we're talking life, we're talking brotherhood, we're talking about relationships, communication, we're talking about life after basketball, how to become a man, we'll talk about voices and choices, we talk about all the things that we share in leadership and growing people, and all those things is helping equip our guys to not only be great basketball players, but most importantly, be great people and be great adversaries in their community. So the 5 H's of team building. Right? The first one we talk about is our heritage. Where are you from? What's your story? And so we usually give those guys a couple minutes to stand up, and it's important for them when they communicate with people, like meeting you as alumni, that they're able to tell their story. Where are you from? I'd say Donnie Jones, Point Pleasant, West Virginia. I grew up in a household. I had a brother, sister. You got to be able to tell your story, who's in your family. And as a team, we're sitting there taking notes, and we are learning where it all began for you. Second thing we talk about, who's your hero? So the hero next for us is who is the person that's influenced you and who has made an unbelievable impact or a mentor in your life. And it's been really important because no matter how much we know in recruiting with young men, we find out sometimes who is someone they really valued that's made a difference in their life. And a lot of times it's parents. It could have been a grandma that raised them, could have been an uncle, could have been a host family, could have been a coach, could have been a local minister. It could have been a teacher. It could have been a friend of the family, could have been an uncle. It's been a lot of people who's had different heroes, but it also lets us know who that is and why. Number three is what's your hope? And I think that's important is what's your hope in life? Some of them at first will say, "Oh, I want to be a pro basketball player." Well, we teach them that's a great goal, but if you're lucky, you may do that for 3 years. If you're very fortunate, you may do it 5, and if you're above the exceptional, you may be lucky to play 10 years. So you're going to be 32 years old. What are you going to do with the next 40 years of your life? So what's your hope? And the impact bigger than yourself to be able to influence people. The next time we talk about what's your highlight? What's been the highlights in your life? Obviously, as we're older, we have different highlights. When you got married, graduating from college, having your children, getting your first job. But young people that I coach, their highlights could vary. It's interesting to see what they think and see as a celebration, as a highlight for them. And last but not least, this is a very emotional but a great connector, is what's your heartbreak? What is something you've experienced in your life? Obviously, us being older, we've experienced some unbelievable things that's happened because we're older throughout our life. We've lost loved ones. Could have been you lost a job that really broke your heart. Whatever you feel and value that's been a crisis in your life right now, as we're going through, as many of us are at this moment. But also, it tells everybody on our team your story and what your pain, what your scars are. Okay, your scars tell us your experience. And so with knowing all these things, it helps us connect to you and build a relationship because we know how to approach you. We know some things that may be a sensitive topic for you, or we also may know how to partner up to you and really build and grow you together. So with that, we talk about our stories, and we call this the 5 H's of team building. And it's one of the most powerful team building things. I've done this with companies. I've done this with my family. I've done it with so many young people, but I ask these questions a lot, even in recruiting, because it tells me so much about the people I'm recruiting, and also gives me a chance to connect with them, because we may have the same heartbreak. We may have experienced the same hero. We may have experienced the same hope. And with that, we're able to share our stories. But most importantly, I get to listen to you and see how you're growing. So I hope you enjoy this. This is one of my favorites of all time. So we talk about the ability to listen. And why do we listen? And we listen for several reasons. We listen to learn. We listen to understand. We listen to connect. We listen to emphasize maybe a point or something you shared with me that I thought was transformational or very interesting, or something that maybe I connected with. But we also listen to support. It may be to console you in your heartbreak. It may be to support you in your hope. So I think it's very important. So our listening tools are our eyes, our ears, our heart, our voice, our mind, our body language, and our notes. We use all those in our Hats Off program. We keep journals, and we talk about how to lock in and give respect to somebody when they're talking. And taking notes sends a message to you when you're speaking that you're adding value to me. And I think that's an important thing. So there's lots of different ways to get types of information, as you can see, through facts and data, opinions, assumptions, biases, rumors, myths, and falsehoods. But there's nothing more important than the ability to listen and hear it. I showed this last week. I think it's an important one. If it's lonely at the top, you're not doing something right. So just remember that. If this is your relationships at your staff meeting every morning, and right now that's probably not uncommon in in the COVID-19 world right now. That's what we probably look like at most of our meetings now because we're not allowed to be so many feet apart. But this is usually the illustration used that if it's lonely at the top, that means you're not doing something right. You're not connecting with somebody. There should be times that you're listening, not always having to talk, but who you inviting to either have breakfast with you, dinner, lunch. George Raveling, my friend and mentor, used to say to me, you should never eat alone. Never eat alone. Do not miss the 3 opportunities each day to be able to set 3 questions and ask somebody those 3 questions and then listen. And listen, grow while you eat. You've got 3 times during the day that you have to eat, so listen and learn from other people. What is a relationship? Relationships defined as a bond, association, or an involvement. It's emotional or another connection between people. It's people strategy, individual or team management, or partnering with others. Purpose, how we build, develop, and maintain sustainable relationships. Okay? Our choices make us. A crisis reveals us. During the purpose, I think that's important. And I think the pain where you are, and we said this to our players last night, is got to be greater than the pain it will take to change. And I think that's an important mindset of what's purpose in your culture, what's purpose in your relationships, and what's purpose in your ability to connect. Relationship characteristics. Very important to have these to be able to build a relationship that connects. Not one that just associates with, one that connects. You got to be loyal, trustworthy, appreciative, committed, sincere, open communication, like we had with our team. The ability to be able to have a platform where you can share and care. I said last night to our team, sharing is caring. You got to be able to share your emotions. You got to be able to trust, because we want to help you as a team and through brotherhood to help you get through this situation. You got to be compassionate. You got to show compassion. You got to be responsible. You got to have sharing. You got to be flexible, dependable, and most importantly, respectful. These are all the characteristics that are important in connecting in a meaningful relationship. So we talk about what's the building blocks of a relationship. Well, first of all, you establish it. That's the beginning of a relationship. One thing in sports, it's the power of your relationships. I used to hear this all the time. Our life moves at the speed of our relationships. I was told that at one point, and I think that has incredible meaning. Our life moves at the speed of our relationships. And I think that's an important comment. So what's that mean? So that means as you establish relationships and you continue to grow them, that's the quality of your life you will have with other people, how you've invested in helping other people get what they want. So you establish a relationship, you build it, you add value to it, and asking nothing in return. You improve it, you maintain it, and then it evolves. Then it starts becoming a mutual relationship, the meaningful ones do, when you've really connected. There's so many people in today's world, as we see, a lot of things that's going on, is that a lot of people are very fearful of buying in and trusting in a real relationship. So you got to continue to understand the building blocks of a relationship is to establish, is to build, is to improve, is to maintain and evolve. What are you doing every day to add value to those relationships? Relationship trust. And these are the things that's important as we build this trust. Do they confide in me? Do they speak freely in my presence? Do they expose valuable possessions to me? Do they seek value? And last but not least, do they consider me a friend? Sometimes we have business relationships, and sometimes we have very important relationships that end up coming through our work, lifelong relationships. In sports, I've had a chance for 31 years, meet thousands and thousands of people all over the world. And those relationships have existed with so many people for 20 plus years. We may have met through a mutual friend or through a recruitment of a young man or a coach or at a clinic or someone else, but how we've been able to build relationship trust has all started with these 5 steps. Okay, there's 3 types of relationship trust. Must be an authentic partnership between yourself and the other person. Must share mutual vision. Type B, there's a solid, meaningful, ongoing relationship which brings true business value and social value. Type C, just a casual relationship. Some works in progress and strategic in nature. So you get different relationship types. Type A, I think is a great one, especially for a shared vision in a team. Type B, you're going to have those kind of relationships sometimes depending on the connection. And type C, it's just a very casual. And a lot of times when you're in a high volume relationship situation, sometimes in sports, I meet a ton of people and coaches, and sometimes they become just very casual in meaning. Relationship investments, how do you invest in them? Through time, through creativity, through energy, and through equity. So we talk about creativity. A lot of times I'm an avid reader. I think leaders are readers. And I share a lot of books. I send books to friends. We share things. I look for ways to share a lot of different articles constantly all day long. I'm sending articles to friends, quotes, anything that I feel adds value. And just a simple little gesture like that shows an investment to you that, hey, I care. Your relationship matters. People's expectations in a relationship. This is what they think. You got 5 things that they're thinking about. 1, I want you to know me. But we talked about that 5 H's of building, right? What's your heritage? Number 2, I want you to respect me. So it's important for me to respect you. I got to learn to know your story. So I know how to build with you and connect with you. Number 3, lead me. They want to see me be able to be an example and to be able to add value to them and lead them. Number 3, serve me. You want to be a servant leader. How do I share? How do I care? How do I invest in you? And 4th, love me. Okay, there's different types of love. How do you sincerely care about who I am in a relationship? So these are usually people's relationships mindset when you're trying to connect and build a relationship. So you have a pyramid, what I call the relationship pyramid. And the first level, which is the lowest level, is sometimes that's as far as you go. People who don't know me by name. Most of the time, there's people you work with every day. You're not even sure what their name is because we've never asked, or we don't even call them by their name. We don't take time to get to know them. Second level is people who know me by my name. You just may know their name and you just may say hi to them and they're an acquaintance and you have a casual relationship with them. The third one is starting to be more powerful. The third level is people who like me and are friendly with me. I like you. I speak to you. I may ask how's your family, but it's a casual conversation at a little bit higher level. The 4th one is people who respect me. You respect, you may continue to ask questions or advice at this level. And then the most important one, which is at the top of the pyramid, the top of the mountain, is people who value relationship with me. They truly value, they share, they care, they look out to add value to you, and it becomes a mutual trust. And that's when things can be really powerful, is when you have that bond, just like great teams. It's important to create a community of people with whom you can seek. So that means having a mentor. Who's your mentor? I talk to our players all the time about this. I think it's very vital to have people that you can learn from. I have various mentors who I reach out to for various things to grow from all the time. I have coaching friends. I have spiritual friends. I have doctor friends. I have past friends who have been in my life. I have financial friends. I have lawyer friends. I have all kinds of different friends who I reach out to seek wisdom, seek solutions, seek the truth, seek advice, seek encouragement, and seek compassion, especially as a leader. Sometimes we don't re-energize ourselves because we're constantly giving and serving to other people. What are you doing to invest in yourself so that you will be at a level when you're needed to be able to build other people? So we have to be able to re-energize ourselves and grow ourselves so we can continue to grow others. So what's your relationship counsel? Have you thought about that? Internally and externally. Who's your influencers? Who's your connectors? Who's your mentors? Who's your thinking partners? Who's your doers? Who's your truth tellers? Who's your learning partners? Who's your motivators? Who's your experts? Who's your visionaries? Who's somebody that kind of is critical in your voices to learn from you? Who's your true believers? Who's your great listeners? Who's your solution makers? And most importantly, who's your advocates? So all these are important that you have that relationship counsel that's able to grow you in your relationships. So do you have your own board of directors? If you're sitting at a conference table right now and all these seats right now, you're trying to fill these chairs with those people that we just talked about. Do you have those people of who that would be? And if you don't, why not? Why would you not have those type of people there in your life that can give you counsel, give you advice with those topics we just talked about? So this is what it should look like. If I'm sitting at the table right now looking straight ahead, right on the other end is my mentor. To my right's my financial advisor. To the next chair is my truth teller, my thinking partner, my coach, my role model, my influencer, my connector, my fixer, and my advocate. How are you building your boardroom in life? In coaching, we have many other coaching friends who we get this from. My staff brings some of these things to me. So we talk about these same things with our players. We talk about these same things with business and with our coaching staff. The next time we talk about your relationship toolkit. How are you building your relationship toolkit? So I think about mine all the time and how I do it. You know, when I walk out and I walk into a house, I walk in and meet people in the first impression. I walk in to share the story and why Stetson is a phenomenal place to go to school that will impact you not only the next 4 years of your life, but the next 40. So these are important things to have. How do you introduce yourself? How do you smile? That's your body language. How do you relate on social media? What is the message and platform you're sharing every day? Business cards. How's your business card look and how are you communicating with that? Conversation. What are the questions I've already prepared for to be able to ask you to be able to add value or share something with you? Okay. Always carry a pen on you to be able to write something down. And what's your passion? People feel your energy in a relationship. So it's important you build your relationship toolkit every day by how you approach people when it comes time. So I call it the $64,000 question. Don't ask me why 64,000. It could be $1 million question. I always say this at the end of my conversation with my players, with my family, or anybody I'm in a relationship with that is important. Is I always say, is there anything I can do for you? I always end my conversation with that. And a lot of people say, well, Coach, why do you say that? Well, it's important that people know that, is there anything else I can help you with? It's not a financial situation, but sometimes it just shows to you that I want to serve you. Is there any way I can help you with anything before I go? Because I care. So it's a great way to end a conversation. Is there anything I can do for you at the end of the day? We love people who care. And I call this the 30-second rule. First 30 seconds when you meet somebody. Within that first 30 seconds of a conversation, you say something encouraging. I say it all the time. You should have a smile, something encouraging to the person, a personal but flattering compliment. The first 30 seconds should appeal to them and not be about you. Pique their interest, establish a connection, and maintain the conversation. So you don't want to walk in and say, "Hey, how you doing, Donnie Jones, head basketball coach Stetson? Yeah, we had a great year. I love my team. We're real excited about next year." No. "Hello, I'm Donnie Jones, and you are great. Hey, I really love. That's an incredible shirt. Where'd you get that shirt? That's great. I knew you played here at Stetson. Congratulations. I know you had an incredible career here." So it's always got to be things about them. It can't be about you. It's an important factor. So the next thing is make me feel important. So when you're trying to connect and build with somebody, is how do you connect and you make people feel important? It's so vital in doing that. And in doing so, the next thing you notice is I used this the last time, is everyone has an invisible sign hanging around their neck and it says, "Make me feel important." Okay, as you can see this here with my daughter, I'm at Father's Day. I go to her school and she made this tie and put it around my neck. All right, and so it's important how we make each other feel important because we all have that invisible sign around us. I thought this was a great example of LeBron James, who started his own school. And in doing that, his whole thing was to give back to people and connect to where he come from. So he started a school and he made a comment, "I promise to never forget where I come from." And he went back to his town of Akron, started a high school there. And in doing that, he's helped so many of those kids who may have not had an opportunity to go to college. He's funded that through so many donations and things that he's created. And he's given hope in being able to do that. He's connected with so many young people and establishing an incredible service to so many people. And I think that's an important thing, is how he's made people feel. And he says, never underestimate the power of a kind word, touch, or smile. People will never forget how you made them feel. How do you make people feel? Even when they may not make you feel a certain way, especially in a leadership position, it's important that you continue to show the way. In today's situation, a lot of these young people we're talking to in a group, they're wondering, "Coach, what do we do? How do we handle this?" Well, the only thing you can do is do the next right thing. How you're handling today. Okay, be the light in the dark, and we put enough light together, there'll be no more darkness. So it's important how we make people feel. Relationship drivers. We talked about those already, different things that we can have. Magic relationship words. The power of your words. Thank you, please, I love you, positivity, you're the best. What do you need? You're special, of course. How can I help you? Yes, I'd be happy to. Appreciate you. Nope, I'm sorry, I cannot. Powerful words, what I call the magic words. We share these with our players. These are important words I share with my children. How do you connect to people is the words that you use. Regardless of the words they may use, you have the ability and the choice to make the words you use. Relationship Basics 101. It's always helpful to have a collection of friends in high places. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, it's both. Relationships are important with how you've connected and who you've met. My relationships and travels through sport has been something that has given me an opportunity to be in a room with some incredibly successful people. And in doing so, it's given me a platform to meet them. But if I didn't have the relationship toolkit and the know-how of the things I'm talking to you about right now, those relationships would not be people who are there to be able to help me. So it's important that you adopt a "how can I help you" mindset when you're building relationships. How can I help you? Answer the covenant question, what's in it for me? If it's to be, it's up to me. You got to give to get. Do we want to have the mentality to do something to get something back in return? No. But usually, as we've heard the term many times, you reap what you sow. Be a positive difference maker in the lives of others. Sometimes you have to be wrong so someone else can be right. You don't always have to be the expert on everything. And the best time to make a contact is when you do not need any help. You don't want to call up people when you really don't have a relationship and ask for help. It's very hard to do that. You haven't invested in that and have a true, meaningful relationship. There's been many people that I still help to this day that call me to get into coaching and other things to connect people through other people that I've never met before. So it's important to build your relationships before you need them. Relationship killers, things that hurt your relationship. I was sitting here trying to think about it. Poor preparation, not doing your homework on people, saying the wrong words. So in a relationship, you don't know anybody's story. You say the wrong things. You make somebody feel offended. You don't know their name, call them by a different name. And you say things that may be offensive to the people you meet. Lack of focus, lack of shared goals. So you didn't listen when they were talking. You didn't have the same goals they had, and you just completely tuned out to try and invest in them. False expectations, lack of a shared vision, something that you thought and they wasn't that, so you tuned out. Win or lose relationship, lack of balance, one party set up to lose. Lack of ownership, no one's responsible for the relationship. No one was trying to connect on either end, wasn't buying in. Poor maintenance, failure to fuel the relationship. A lot of times people meet, we talked about the first time. How do you continue to grow the relationship and how do you invest in it? Most of the time, it's not a mutual investment. It's usually one person investing in it and the other people are trying to just continue to build trust to see, do I want to be in this relationship? Does it add value to me? All those questions we talked about. Relationship goals. Be the most informed, connected, influential, trusted, respected, innovative, daring, intelligent, copied, strategic. Those are your goals in the relationship when you're going into it. That's your approach mentally and preparation wise that you got to be able to be ready for before you get into it. And make friends before you need them. You don't make friends just because you need them, but friends are there and they want to be there. And the true relationship with friends is they're trying to find a way to be a part. They want to be there for you. I spoke about this earlier. Never eat alone. You're going to have at least 3 times, even if it's just to have coffee in the morning. Invite somebody to listen to. It's a part of your team. And then, we talk about some of these kids that are working for us now, and we got Generation Z, Generation G, and you have millennials. And millennials are people here now that a lot of people ask me this question all the time, and that's a lot who I'm coaching, 18 to 23-year-olds for the most part, that are in a generation now where older coaches and sometimes even CEOs who are older have a hard time coaching the young people because they don't understand them. And they've grown up in the iPhone society. And as you can see, taking selfies and being a part of pictures is a vital thing. It's getting to understand the language they speak. How do I connect? I can't stay in the same place I've been in my life if I'm in my 50s and 60s that used to connect. We have to be able to connect different with our people who are working for us and understanding our customer. And as you can see, I thought this is how connected are the millennials and understand how they are. 90% of them conduct research online, shopping. 52% blogs, 67% receive their news online. And this has probably went up since I put this slide on here. 60% send and receive text messages. 43% play online games. Probably since this COVID-19, probably 83% of people play online. So this is important to understand. They communicate through the phone. So with my players, I communicate through text messaging, through social media, through Instagram. I like their stuff. I send pictures to them. I send articles to them. I send songs to them. I have Instagram live sessions where I interview them. I do everything to speak their language. How are you connecting? It's very important. All right. As you can see, how many times have you walked into a restaurant and you see a group of young people sitting there, and this is what they're doing. They're at a coffee shop, and everybody's in their own little space, and they could be reading each other's Instagram, and they could be text messaging each other. It's just the way they communicate. So it's important that we do understand how they communicate, but we also have to equip them to be able to communicate with people at our age as well. And that's the things we talked about earlier. So understanding social media. A lot of times I work with CEOs. When I was out 1 year in basketball, did a lot of speaking. And one of the things with CEOs was learning social media, how important it is to have a platform. And we know we're in the me generation. A lot of selfies, a lot about me. How do you feel about me? Young people want to be heard. They want to be listened to. They want to know you care. They want to be a part, even more than any time ever. In the journey, it's all about relationships. At the end of the day, it's all about relationships. And obviously, these are the platforms for myself here in closing that you can reach me. As you can see, I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also I'm on LinkedIn. So those are platforms that I communicate with business people, friends, recruits, coaches, anyone I can connect with, I communicate with. So those are some things there. I hope you enjoyed that. And I'll open up some questions there. Alex, if anybody may have some questions.
Yeah, really, really great content tonight. I'll give everybody a minute or two to load some questions or comments, anything you have in the chat box. We'll address those. I know we've had a couple come in throughout. While we wait for those to come in, I am going to briefly throw up the graphic for next week on the screen. Then I'm going to drop a couple things in the chat box here while you guys load in your questions. One is going to be our webinar interest form that we use. If you have a few moments, we'd ask that you please fill that out. What we're doing for our virtual events, we kind of build our content around what we hear as far as feedback from all of you. So if you have a moment, please feel free to take it and fill that out for us. Let us know what kind of content you'd like to see. I'm also going to drop a link to register for next week's workshop with Donnie in here. And I'm also going to drop one final link in there. If you are interested in keeping up with anything Stetson men's basketball related, I'm going to link you to their Go Hatters page. You can find all their social medias, any news, when the schedule gets released, all that goes there. So I'm going to drop that in the chat box very quickly. And then feel free to load any questions in, any comments. We've got one earlier from Ricky, Coach. How can you get people to understand you want to help when they aren't receptive to being helped?
Yeah, well, it's a great question, and it really requires patience. And I think you got to continue to try to learn their language. There's not many people that I haven't been able to connect with that really do not enjoy a relationship, one where you're really trying to invest in them. And I think it may take time to where trust is built. Every person has a different situation. So you just have to continue to invest. Don't lose patience and look for a return instantly. A lot of young people get frustrated, feeling like I give, and they just take. And I think in relationships, you just got to continue to work at it. Doesn't mean that every relationship's going to work that way, but I really think it's just people love for you to care. They do. And sometimes we get frustrated too quickly in certain situations. But if you really want that relationship and it really matters to you, I think you got to keep trying to find what the love language is and what the impact language is. I get it in recruiting all the time. There's a lot of people that get recruited, get so much attention, and here, how do you separate yourself at Stetson when you have all these other big schools recruiting you? Well, it comes down into being able to be relentless, to be different, to have a different approach, and to constantly be consistent in building trust with your message.
Absolutely. And another one here, how difficult is it or has it been to adjust to speaking and presenting virtually as opposed to in person where you get that body language impact with everyone?
It is different. I've done a ton of Zoom calls. Some of them been, where I've been interviewed. So I've been able to at least look at the person who's talking to me and talk back. So that's been easier. But doing these things where all I'm doing, seeing a PowerPoint and I'm talking to myself is a little more difficult because you're not sure what part of the content they're really enjoying. But it's been a nice challenge to grow me in a different way.
For sure. We had another one just pop in. Thanks, Coach. Any tips on how to become a good mentor?
Yeah, well, most important in a mentor is being able to share. I think listen, number one. Number two, listen. Number three, listen. And then number four is make sure you're being consistent of what you're sharing and really paying attention and trying to find ways to add value to them. And whatever they're struggling with, a lot of times they want to be heard. They're not always looking for the answer unless they ask you for that answer.
Absolutely. A couple more here. One, how do you explain the importance of communication and relationship building to incoming freshmen or anybody that transfers in on your team each year?
I talk about relationships all the time, family, brotherhood. We talk about the importance of knowing your story, to be able to share our story and to be able to help each other. We talk about shared vision of what we're trying to get there. That starts in the recruiting, and when they arrive, we reinforce that all the time. So it's very important, especially with young people. We want them to be able to learn how to connect to their teammates, but most importantly to the alumni, to the people on campus. And we want this to be a place where we equip them for life. And if you can build relationships, you can be successful. A lot of people struggle to get jobs, and it's a very hard time right now. But the bigger what we call who your who is your circle of people will determine the success you'll have in your life with people.
Absolutely. And just to follow up to that one, do you notice your upperclassmen ever stepping up and kind of becoming that mentor for new guys on the team and showing them the importance of building those relationships and being a strong communicator?
Yeah, well, we have 2 upperclassmen now, and we'll have 11 freshmen and sophomores. So I never put a age on leadership. I'm trying to equip the 2 seniors I have, which I had them for 1 year this year. Trust is being established now through a year. And I think the time and consistency and the proof is all coming to force in a year. So the openness of them is now learning to trust me. And sometimes, you're a player-led team is when things get really powerful. So I'm hoping they can take a next step here in learning how to do that. First, you got to learn to lead yourself before you can lead someone else, because no one will follow your example. So we're in that aspect with them. I'm hoping that I can continue in time, help them lead these young people, but I encourage the young people to also lead others.
Absolutely. And I'll leave it open for a few more seconds for any last minute questions or comments. I'll say thank you to everybody for joining tonight. Thank you, Coach Jones, for taking the time to do this with us again. We're great stuff in this week. We'll be back again next week for one more workshop. This was great. I appreciate everybody taking the time tonight. And I believe that'll be it. So we'll go ahead and close up. And again, thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you, Alex. Have a good night. Go Hatters.
Go Hatters.